My name is Hannah Mercer. I'm 38 years old, and the sentence that detonated my daughter's future started like a casual favor. Your daughter's secret art project is probably nothing important. I threw it out to clean up. My boyfriend said it like he'd done me a favor, like he'd taken out some old pizza boxes. He wasn't in front of me when he said it. It was in a text, a stack of blue iMessage bubbles sent hours before I walked into my own house at 6:15 p.m. on a Thursday and found my 17-year-old daughter sitting on the kitchen floor, knees drawn up, a crumpled paper bag pressed to her mouth. She wasn't crying. She'd moved past crying into that eerie, empty place where the body just shakes and forgets how to breathe. Lily? I dropped my work bag so fast it hit the tile with a thud. Hey, look at me. What's going on? Her eyes were huge and glassy, fixed on something that wasn't there. Where is it? She rasped into the bag. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It took me a solid 3 minutes. 3 very long, very specific minutes of counting her breaths, coaching her inhale, exhale, inhale, to get her coherent enough to string real sentences together. When she did, I honestly thought I'd misheard. He threw away my portfolio, she whispered. The whole thing. Mom, the whole thing. Who? I asked, even though I already knew. She shoved her phone into my hand with a motion that was half shove, half collapse. On the screen was a text from Ryan, my boyfriend, 32, moved in 4 months ago. Total relationship length a year and a half. He called himself a social media consultant, which, near as I could tell, meant posting on Instagram for small businesses and complaining about the algorithm like it was a personal enemy. His text to my daughter read, Hey, cleaned out the garage today. Threw away all those old art projects that were taking up space. You're welcome. House looks so much better. Beneath it, Lily's reply. What art projects? His answer came fast. That dusty black case thing and like 3 canvases. They looked ancient, LOL. Lily's final message was a punch to the gut. That was my college portfolio. Ryan again. Oops. Well, you can make new stuff, right? Trash already got picked up this morning. I stared at the screen. The words blurred. The garage wasn't just a garage. It was Lily's art studio. A converted space we'd patched and painted together. Cheap standing lamp. Secondhand easel. Shelves of brushes and paints. I'd told him that on day 1. I'd told him again, explicitly, on text. The garage is Lily's art studio. Off limits. Don't touch her stuff. The portfolio wasn't just art projects. It was 8 months of work. 20 carefully chosen pieces for the application to her dream art school. A school with a 7% acceptance rate. People get rejected with perfect GPAs and flawless recommendations. She'd been building that portfolio since last September. Some pieces had taken her 2 months each, and he'd called it clutter. I scrolled up on Lily's phone, hands shaking. There it was, tagging along in the chat history like a ghost of common sense. That dusty black case thing. They looked ancient, lol. I swallowed. Show me his text to me, I said. She opened our thread and handed the phone back. There it was, time-stamped 2:03 p.m. Cleaned up the garage for you. Tossed all the old art stuff so there's more room. House looks way less chaotic now. You're welcome. I felt something cold move through my chest. I tapped the call button before I could talk myself out of it. Ryan answered on the 3rd ring, chipper in that fake professional tone he used on client calls. Hey, babe, you see how clean the garage looks? Where's the portfolio? My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded flat, distant, surgical. He paused. Oh my God, are you seriously mad? I was trying to help. The black portfolio case that was on the shelf by itself, I said. Labeled. Where is it? It's gone. He sighed, like I was being difficult. I told Lily trash came this morning. It was taking up so much room, and she obviously wasn't using it, just sitting there, collecting dust. She's been working on it every single day for 8 months. Dead air, then. Well, she should have said something. It was labeled, I said. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. In giant letters. College portfolio, do not move. I don't read every little thing, he said. I was in cleaning mode. Besides, if it was so important, why was it just sitting there? Lily snatched the phone from my hand, eyes blazing through the leftover panic. It was sitting there because I finished it, she shouted. I was waiting for my final piece to dry before submitting. That's how portfolios work, Ryan. Don't yell at me, he snapped. I didn't know. God, you guys are so dramatic. Just draw some new pictures. You're good at art. I took the phone back before I said something that would have a different sort of consequence. She got accepted, I said, to that art school, the one she's been working toward for 3 years. Okay, so she's in, he said. What's the problem? They gave her a $50,000 scholarship, conditional on submitting the physical portfolio by April 15th. I glanced at the calendar on the wall. That's in 3 weeks. Silence. Long silence. The kind that says everything. That's not my fault, he finally said. How was I supposed to know some random art stuff was worth money? It was labeled, I repeated softly. Whatever, he said. You're both overreacting. Tell her to make new art. She's 17. She's got time. I gotta go. I have a client call. He hung up. Lily looked at me, the phone screen going black between us. I can't remake 8 months of work in 3 weeks, she said. Her voice was very small. I know, I said. That scholarship was everything, she whispered. State is 18 a year. With the scholarship, art school was basically free. We did the spreadsheet. You said we could make it work. We had. I'd saved $15,000 for her college over a decade of saying no to myself and yes to my kid. With the scholarship, the plan had worked. Minimal loans, dream school, the whole thing. Without it, we were staring at 70 grand in debt for state, which was a perfectly good school with a decent art program. Just not her dream. We spent that evening trying everything. I called the waste management facility. Once trash is dumped, they won't let you search. Liability issues. I checked every neighbor's bin like a woman hunting for a missing limb. Nothing. It was gone. I called the art school the next morning on my break, explained everything to the admissions counselor, every humiliating detail. She was sympathetic but firm. The scholarship required the physical portfolio. They needed to see textures, materials, scale. Digital photos weren't enough. She could give us an extension until May 1st. That was the absolute latest. 2 extra weeks. Still impossible. Lily went to her room and didn't come out for hours. When she finally did, her eyes had that hollow look I'd seen exactly once before when her dad walked out and never looked back. That night, when Ryan walked in at 8 p.m., like nothing had happened, tossing his keys in the bowl and talking about takeout, something in me that had always been flexible, accommodating, understanding, snapped into place. We need to talk, I said. He grimaced. If this is still about the art thing, I already said I'm sorry. It was an accident. It was an accident? I asked. Yes, I was cleaning. He threw his hands up. How many times do I have to apologize? You haven't apologized once, I said. You said we were overreacting. Because you are. It's art supplies, Hannah. She can make more. Lily came out of her room then, eyes red, shoulders squared, in that way she had when she was barely holding herself together. She held up her phone, the acceptance email shining like a cruel joke. This is what you threw away, she said. $50,000. My dream school. 4 years of planning. Ryan barely glanced at it. Okay, he said. Well, I didn't know. Not my fault you didn't communicate how important it was. It was in a labeled portfolio case in a room you were told not to touch, I said. Explicitly. Multiple times. Don't raise your voice at me, he snapped. I live here too. I have a right to clean. You don't live here anymore, I said. The words surprised even me with how calm they sounded. His jaw dropped. Are you serious right now? Dead serious, I said. Pack your stuff. You need to leave. You're breaking up with me because I threw away some art projects? He demanded. Lily made a sound like a wounded animal and fled back to her room. Not some art projects, yeah, I said. 8 months of work. $50,000, her future, because you decided your need to feel in control of my house was more important than respecting boundaries. This is insane, he said. I made a mistake. People make mistakes. Mistakes have consequences, I said. Get out. He laughed, ugly and sharp. You're going to regret this so much. I've put up with your depressing house, your bratty daughter, your weird work schedule. You think you're going to find better? You're almost 40 with a teenager. And I'm still better off without you, I said. Funny how that works. He grabbed his purse, no, his messenger bag, the one he insisted on calling minimalist leather, face red and twisted. Don't come crying to me when you realize you ruined a good thing, he snapped, and slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frame. An hour later, I got a text from an unknown number I knew by heart. When you calm down and stop being so emotional, we can talk like adults. I forgive you for overreacting. I blocked him. Saturday morning, I did something I'd never done before. I called a lawyer. The lawyer's office smelled like old coffee and printer toner. I sat on a chair that was just slightly too low, clutching a manila folder like a lifeline. Inside, Lily's acceptance letter, the scholarship terms, the email from the school about the extension, screenshots of texts, and photos of her work in progress. The lawyer's name was Daniel. Late 40s, tired eyes, wedding ring. He spun absently with his thumb while he read. He'd shaken my hand, asked a few polite questions, and then gone very, very quiet. He read Lily's acceptance letter twice. Then he picked up the scholarship offer, lips moving slightly as he scanned the fine print. Conditional upon receipt of the physical portfolio by April 15th, he read aloud. We require the tangible work to evaluate texture, material, and scale. Digital reproductions will not suffice. He set the paper down and looked at the photos of Lily's pieces on my phone. Some she'd taken herself, close-ups of layered paint, charcoal shading, tiny details that never rendered right on a screen. How long did she work on these? He asked. 8 months, I said. Some pieces took 2 months each. She started last September. He nodded slowly. And this boyfriend knew about the portfolio? Yes, I said. He walked through the studio all the time. I texted him 6 weeks ago. The garage is Lily's art studio. Please don't move or touch anything in there. He responded. Fine, I won't touch your precious art room. I slid my phone over so he could see the thread. He read it, jaw tightening just a fraction. And then he texted her saying he threw away that dusty black case thing and some canvases. Daniel scrolled. And when she told him it was her college portfolio, he said, oops, and suggested she make new art. Trash had already been picked up that morning, I said. He leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. Okay, he said. Here's the situation. You have documentation that he was explicitly told not to touch items in that space. You have documentation that the portfolio existed, that it was tied to a specific scholarship amount, and that it was physically destroyed by his actions. You also have the school confirming the scholarship was contingent on the physical portfolio and that the rushed replacement didn't meet their standards. I nodded, heart pounding. Is this viable? I asked. The question felt stupid and enormous at the same time. A real case, or am I just angry? Oh, you're definitely angry, he said almost gently. But yes, this is viable, very viable. He tapped the scholarship letter with one hand. This is destruction of property with quantifiable damages. The scholarship offer is documented. The physical portfolio requirement is explicitly stated. And you have proof he was told not to touch the studio and did so anyway. He looked up at me. The scholarship amount was $50,000. Yes, I said, $50,000 total. Tuition, fees, a bit toward housing and supplies. Then that's our starting point, he said. Scholarship value, emotional distress for your daughter, and your legal fees. We could pursue the full amount in civil court. Will we definitely win? No lawyer should ever promise that. But with what you've brought me, he gestured to the folder. I'd say you have a strong case. I exhaled, the air leaving my lungs like I'd been holding it for days. And if we win, I asked. Then he pays, Daniel said. Either in a lump sum, a structured payment plan, or, if he really can't afford it, potentially through wage garnishment. That's down the line. First step is filing. He paused. But I'll be blunt, he added. This will get ugly. People don't like being held accountable, especially people who think cleaning up someone else's life makes them the hero. A bitter laugh escaped me. You picked that up quick. He smiled faintly. Occupational hazard. Do you want to proceed? I thought of Lily's face when she read the school's response to her rushed replacement portfolio. How she hadn't cried. How she'd just gone numb. Yes, I said, we do. Papers were filed that Thursday. Ryan was served Friday at his new apartment. The calls started almost immediately. I didn't pick up. I let them go to voicemail, one after another, watching the notifications stack up like some grotesque countdown. Voicemail 1. What the actual hell, Hannah? You're suing me over garbage? Call me back. Voicemail 4. This is abuse, financial abuse. You're weaponizing the legal system because you can't handle a breakup. Voicemail 9. My mom's lawyer says this is frivolous and they'll laugh you out of court. Seriously, stop embarrassing yourself. Voicemail 13. You're only doing this to punish me for the breakup. This is insane. Grow up. Voicemail 17. Fine, see you in court. Hope you have money for a lawyer because you're going to lose and look crazy. He also started a group text with mutual friends, mostly people from his gym, some from his networking circle, carefully framed as concern. Can you believe this? Hannah's suing me over cleaning. She's trying to take my money because Lily is dramatic. Please talk some sense into her. One of them, a woman from his yoga class I'd met exactly twice, actually called me. This is really extreme, she said, voice wrapped in faux compassion. He's devastated. He made a mistake. Do you really want to ruin his life over art supplies? He destroyed 8 months of work and cost my daughter $50,000, I said. I'm asking him to pay for what he destroyed. But he didn't mean to, she protested. You're being vindictive. Cool, I said. You can testify to that in court. I hung up. By Sunday, Ryan had crafted a full narrative on social media. No names, of course, just vagues. Long, moody posts with black and white selfies about toxic single moms who can't handle strong men and people who weaponize the legal system when relationships don't work out. He talked about how he accidentally messed up his girlfriend's kids' art stuff and was now being sued for $50,000 by someone who refuses to accept an apology. He never said my name. He didn't have to. Mutual followers knew. They started DMing me. Some messages were kind. People who'd actually read what I posted, which was nothing. Others called me controlling, bitter, money hungry. Lily saw some of it. People at school are talking about it, she said one afternoon, standing in my doorway with her phone limp in her hand. They're showing me his posts, asking if you're really suing him, asking if I'm really that dramatic. I saw the way she flinched at that phrase. So dramatic. She deleted all her social media that night. Instagram, TikTok, everything. One by one, the little icons disappeared from her home screen until her phone looked empty, like a face without eyes. That was the moment something in me hardened. If we'd filed the lawsuit and he'd come over with real contrition, if he'd apologized, offered to pay something, shown even a flicker of genuine remorse, I might have sat in Daniel's office and asked about settlements, payment plans, compromises. Instead, he'd chosen to pretend we were crazy, to call my daughter dramatic, to send people after us online, to frame himself as the victim. So I printed out everything. Every harassing message he'd sent, every defamatory post, every attempt to turn people against us, every fake narrative he spun. I took it back to Daniel's office in another manila folder, thicker this time. We're not just talking about destruction of property anymore, he said, flipping through the screenshots. We're talking defamation and intimidation. He pulled out a yellow legal pad and started a new list. Let's amend the complaint, he said. Add defamation, add harassment. When someone starts a campaign to punish you for seeking legal recourse, courts don't tend to like that. A week later, his office called with an update. His lawyer reached out, Daniel said. They're calling this a misunderstanding that spiraled. They're offering $3,000 to settle if you agree to drop everything. I stared at my kitchen wall, at the calendar with April 15th circled in red, a date that had become both meaningless and permanently important. Counter, I said. To what? $45,000, I said. Take it or we go to trial. There was a pause on the line. You're sure? Daniel asked. I looked down the hall to where Lily's door was cracked open, light spilling out, the faint sound of pencil on paper. She was drawing again, but not the way she had before. Back then, her sketches had been loose, joyful, overflowing. Now each line looked measured, cautious, like she was afraid of getting attached to anything on the page. Yes, I said, I'm sure. Daniel exhaled softly. All right, I'll relay the message, but prepare yourself. They won't like it. They'll probably escalate. They did, but by then, I'd stopped caring about being the good guy. I cared about being the mother who didn't roll over when someone treated her daughter's future like garbage. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. Gray skies, the kind that press down on your scalp and make everything feel heavier. I walked into the courthouse with Daniel beside me and Lily trailing a half step behind, hugging her sketchbook, even though she hadn't drawn anything in it for weeks. She kept flipping the pages open and shut like she needed to hear the soft papery sound just to feel grounded. Ryan was already there. He stood near the courtroom doors wearing a perfectly pressed button-down shirt, hair styled like he was shooting a professional headshot. His mother was at his side, clutching her purse like it contained divine truth. He saw us and immediately launched into a wounded expression, the kind someone practices in front of a mirror. He looked like a man auditioning for the role of reasonable adult unfairly persecuted. Lily stopped walking. I put a hand on her back and guided her forward, ignoring the dramatic sigh Ryan released when we passed. Inside the courtroom, his lawyer, a younger man with confidence that smelled like expensive cologne and inherited money, stood and filed a motion to dismiss. Your Honor, he said, this is a domestic relationship dispute. My client accidentally discarded items in what he believed was a shared storage space. This matter is not appropriate for civil court. Daniel stood, calm, unbothered, almost bored. Your Honor, we have clear documentation. A text sent 6 weeks before the incident, telling Mr. Dawson, Ryan, explicitly not to touch anything in the garage, which was converted into the minor child's art studio. We also have texts where he admits removing the portfolio, an acceptance letter showing a $50,000 scholarship contingent on the physical portfolio, and an email from the school showing the rushed replacement was rejected. The judge, a woman in her 50s with silver streaked through her hair and an expression carved permanently into unimpressed neutrality, lifted a brow. She looked at Ryan's lawyer. Is your client disputing that he threw away the portfolio? He hesitated. No, Your Honor, but context. That's fine, she said, cutting him off. I'd like to see the text message about the garage. Daniel handed it up. The judge adjusted her glasses and read aloud. The garage is Lily's art studio. Please don't move or touch anything in there. Then she read the reply. Fine, I won't touch your precious art room. She set the papers down. That seems fairly clear to me, she said. Motion to dismiss denied. We'll proceed to trial. Ryan stiffened. His jaw flexed once, twice, like he was chewing glass. His mother turned in her seat and glared at me as though I'd personally set fire to her living room. Outside the courtroom, afterward, she made her move. As soon as we stepped into the hallway, she marched right up to me, heels clacking like accusations. This is harassment, she said. You're bullying my son. He destroyed my daughter's scholarship, I said evenly. He's experiencing consequences. It was an accident, she snapped. A mistake. An accident, I said, that he has refused to apologize for or take responsibility for. Her eyes narrowed into cold slits. You'll get what's coming to you. Karma always wins. Before she could continue, courthouse security stepped in and gently guided her back. But that was just the beginning. The harassment began that week. Small at first, like mosquito bites, then like hornets. On Wednesday, someone left a 1-star review on my small business page. Employs vindictive single moms who sue men for cleaning. Would not recommend. Then on Friday, someone anonymously reported my car as an abandoned vehicle, and I found a bright orange notice stuck on the windshield. I had to drive to the DMV during my lunch break to prove it was mine and legally registered. Saturday morning, CPS called. A caseworker arrived at my house, clipboard and calm voice in hand. We received a report, she said carefully, that your daughter is being emotionally harmed by being involved in adult legal matters. I almost laughed. Almost. But exhaustion and fury sat too heavy in my chest. Lily sat at the table, clutching her mug of tea like it was a shield. The caseworker asked a few questions, looked around, and after 10 minutes said, This appears to be a false report. I'll be closing the case. Lily exhaled, shoulders dropping, but the damage was already done. Someone had dragged my child into the muck of adult spite, and I knew exactly who was behind it. We documented everything. Every review, every notice, every report, every message. All of it went into the expanding folder Daniel kept labeling with quiet efficiency. The preliminary hearing had been set for 3 weeks out, but the real emotional war was happening at home. Lily tried to recreate the portfolio. She worked herself to exhaustion, 16-hour days, barely eating, barely sleeping, hands shaking from fatigue. She finished a new set by May 1st, but you could see the difference. The magic was missing, the effortless brilliance. When the school emailed her, she was sitting at the kitchen table. She opened the message, read it once, then again. Thank you for your submission. While we appreciate the effort, the portfolio does not meet the standards required for our scholarship program. Your acceptance stands, but without financial aid, tuition would be $52,000 per year. Lily's face didn't collapse. It didn't crumple. It simply emptied. She stood up slowly, walked to her room, and closed the door without a sound. For the first time since this began, I sat down at the table and let myself cry silently into my hands. Just 30 seconds, just enough to release the ache before pulling myself back together. I had to be the strong one, the one who fought, the one who didn't fold. The scholarship was officially gone. Now all that was left was the lawsuit and making sure the consequences matched what had been taken from my daughter. The harassment didn't stop. It escalated. Wednesday the following week, my supervisor at work called me into his office. I got a call from someone claiming to be your ex's attorney, he said. They said you're using company time to harass him, sending threatening messages. I stared at him. I haven't contacted him at all. Everything goes through my lawyer. He nodded. I figured. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I added it to the documentation. Thursday night at 11 p.m., my doorbell rang. I checked the camera. Ryan. He was visibly drunk, clutching a half-empty bottle of wine, swaying slightly. Let me in, he slurred. We need to talk. I tapped the speaker button. Go home, Ryan. You can't do this to me, he said, voice wobbling between desperation and anger. I love you, okay? I made a mistake. And now you're trespassing, I said. Leave, or I call the cops. You wouldn't. I held my phone up so the camera could see the non-emergency line dial screen. He stared, then shouted something incoherent, then stumbled away. Another entry for the folder. Friday morning, the doorbell rang again. When I opened the door, Ryan's mother was standing there, 7 a.m., perfectly styled hair, perfume thick in the cool air. "You need to drop this lawsuit," she said. "My son made a mistake. He's sorry. This is ruining his life." "He destroyed my daughter's future over garage space," I said. "It was an accident," she said sharply. "An accident he refuses to take responsibility for," I replied. "He had multiple chances to apologize, to offer to help. Instead, he called us dramatic and started a smear campaign." "You're doing this to punish him," she hissed. "He can't afford this. He'll have to declare bankruptcy." "He should have thought about that," I said, before throwing away labeled property in a room he was explicitly told not to touch. Her expression hardened into something sharp. "You'll regret this." "You're already trying that," I said. "Hasn't worked yet." I closed the door. She stayed on my porch for 5 minutes before leaving. But the worst, the chilling moment that turned fear into action, came the next Wednesday. Lily texted me from school. "Mom, he's here. Ryan. He came to the parking lot. He tried to talk to me. Please come." I left work immediately. By the time I arrived, the school resource officer was standing with Lily, while Ryan paced 20 feet away, gesturing wildly as he talked to no one. The officer approached me. "He needs to leave," he said. "If he comes back, we'll call the police." Ryan's eyes burned into me as I walked Lily to my car. "My life is falling apart because of you," he shouted. "Tell her. Tell your daughter. You're ruining everything." Lily trembled beside me. That was it. We filed for a restraining order the next morning. At the hearing, Ryan's lawyer had the audacity to argue that he needed protection from me. The judge didn't tolerate the theatrics. She reviewed every screenshot, every report, every video clip of him at my door, every documented attempt to harass me at work, every fake call, every school incident. Then she said the words I'd been waiting for. "Restraining order granted, 100 yards, 6 months, no contact, direct or indirect." Ryan exploded. "This is insane. She's the one suing me." "And you," the judge said sharply, "are the one showing up at her home intoxicated and harassing her daughter at school. One more outburst, and I will hold you in contempt." He shut up. The hatred in his eyes could have curdled air. We left the courthouse with a protective order and a renewed date for trial. 4 hours later, Daniel called. "They're offering $15,000 if you drop everything, including the restraining order." "Absolutely not," I said. "What's your counter?" "The same as before," I said. 45,000, and the restraining order stays." "They said that's impossible," Daniel said. "Not my problem," I replied. "He destroyed $50,000 of my daughter's work." There was a long pause. "Then," Daniel said slowly, "we go to trial." The week after the restraining order, the air around my house felt lighter. Not peaceful, never peaceful, but quieter. Lily still startled whenever a car slowed down on our street. I still checked the Ring camera compulsively. But the sickening expectation that he might show up at 11 p.m. again or try to corner my daughter faded just enough for us to breathe. For 48 hours, nothing happened. Then everything happened. It started with Ryan's best friend, Melissa, the one who had led the "Strong Women Shouldn't Be Punished for Cleaning" brigade on social media. She posted a long, vaguely apologetic message on her Instagram story. "Sometimes we rush to judgment. Sometimes we don't know the full story. Remember to show compassion. People are human." Translation: Ryan had asked her for money to pay his legal fees, and she finally got the full picture. Then his mother went oddly quiet online. Her inspirational quotes about truth always wins and good women are attacked most disappeared. No more passive-aggressive Bible verses. No more memes about narcissists. It felt like the prelude to something. I was right. 3 days later, an email arrived in my inbox. No subject line, no greeting. Just, "Please read, I'm begging you." The sender was an unfamiliar Gmail address, but the writing style, the wording, the subtle, performative guilt, it was unmistakably Ryan. Daniel later told me that technically, because the restraining order allowed contact through attorneys and email strictly regarding the case, Ryan's lawyer must have advised him that this loophole might fly. He took that inch and tried to stretch it into a mile. The email was 6 paragraphs. 6 long paragraphs of desperation disguised as sincerity. He wrote about how sorry he was, how he'd made a terrible mistake, how he was in therapy now, working on understanding why I lash out when I feel attacked. As if destroying my daughter's future and then harassing us for months was a simple lashing out. He wrote about losing his apartment, moving back in with his parents, legal fees draining him, panic attacks, nightmares, being hated online, how his entire life is falling apart and you're the only one who can stop it. He said, I never meant to hurt Lily. I didn't understand the value of what I threw out. I would do anything, anything to make this right. Then, please, Hannah, I can't afford 50K. I'll be paying it off until I'm 50. I'm begging you. Can we find a middle ground? He ended with, I will apologize to Lily personally. I'll pay something. Just not that much, please. I stared at the email for a long time. I tried to summon pity, or satisfaction, or rage. Instead, I felt nothing. Absolutely, chillingly, nothing. He'd had chances, so many chances. Right after it happened, he could have apologized, offered to help, offered even $100 toward finding an artist to rush commission replacements, sat down with Lily and said, I'm sorry, how do we fix this? Instead, he'd called her dramatic, told her to just make new art, mocked me for being emotional, harassed my daughter at school, got CPS involved, tried to get me written up at work, showed up drunk at my house, spread lies online, tried to recruit mutual friends to shame me. Now that the consequences were real and the trial was weeks away, he was suddenly in therapy. I forwarded the email to Daniel without adding a single note. His reply came 5 minutes later. Interesting timing. 3 weeks before trial and he suddenly discovers remorse. We keep going. That night, Lily sat at the dining table drawing small, shaky lines on a piece of paper. Something abstract. Something that didn't ask too much of her. Mom, she whispered, pencil trembling in her hand, do we have to go to trial? I sat beside her. It's the only way to hold him accountable, I said gently. If we settle low, he learns nothing. And you deserve better than that. She nodded, though her eyes glistened. I'm scared of testifying, she said. I don't want to relive it. My chest pulled tight. I know, I said, but I'll be there the entire time. Daniel will be there, and the judge won't let him anywhere near you. She lifted her pencil and made one more careful stroke on the page. I just want this to be over, she whispered. We're close, I said, really close. Trial preparation started the next day. Daniel brought us into his conference room, laid out every document like puzzle pieces forming a picture of the truth. He walked Lily through the questions she'd likely be asked. What school were you accepted to? How long did the portfolio take? What did the scholarship mean for your future? How did you feel when you discovered the portfolio was gone? Lily answered quietly at first, voice thin, breath shaky, but each round she grew steadier. This is going to be hard, Daniel said gently, but juries don't respond to drama. They respond to honesty and facts. And you have both. The high school art teacher, Ms. Rayburn, a woman with soft eyes and a steel spine, agreed to testify as an expert witness. I've taught for 24 years, she said. I'll explain exactly why Lily couldn't have recreated that portfolio in 3 weeks. She held Lily's rushed pieces in her hands and shook her head sadly. This isn't a lack of skill, she said. This is a lack of time. Art isn't assembly line production. Lily looked down, shoulders curled inward. But Ms. Rayburn touched her arm. You are talented, she said. That's why this matters. One night, while Lily was in her room, I sat on my bed and tried to imagine the trial. 12 strangers listening to our lives dissected. Ryan performing innocence. His lawyer twisting the story. Lily on the stand, trembling. Me trying to stay composed. Ryan's mother glaring daggers. I thought of backing down. For a minute, maybe 2. But then I remembered Lily's face when the scholarship rejection email came. That numb, hollow devastation. A look no 17-year-old should ever wear. No, we weren't backing down. Not now. 2 weeks before trial, Daniel handed me the final packet of exhibits. Organized, color-coded, bulletproof. Then he looked at me, eyes serious. We're ready, he said. The evidence is overwhelmingly in your favor. I nodded, heart pounding. And him? I asked. Daniel exhaled slowly. He's flailing, he said. His lawyer knows they're cornered. They'll push for last-minute settlement offers. They'll try emotional manipulation, financial threats, anything they can think of. He gave a tired half-smile. He's a man who never thought consequences applied to him, and he's about to learn they do. That night, I stood at Lily's door and watched her sketch under the warm glow of her desk lamp. Her hair fell around her face, her hand moving slowly but deliberately across the page. Not joyful, not fearless, but healing, piece by piece. She looked up and saw me. Mom? Yes, baby? She swallowed. Thank you for fighting for me, she whispered. My throat tightened, but I managed a steady voice. Always, I said, always. Because love isn't just soft. Sometimes love takes the shape of a courtroom. Sometimes love becomes consequence. The trial was coming, and we were ready. Trial day arrived with the metallic sharpness of a new winter morning. Cold air, bright sun, everything too clear and unforgiving. Lily sat beside me in the car, her hands folded tightly in her lap. She wore a simple black sweater, her hair pulled back, her cheeks pale with nerves. I reached over and squeezed her fingers once. She managed a small, tight smile. Daniel was waiting for us at the courthouse steps, holding his leather briefcase in one hand and a travel mug of coffee in the other. "You both ready?" he asked. I nodded. Lily hesitated, then nodded too. He gave her a reassuring look. "You're going to do fine." Inside the courtroom, the air was cool and thick with quiet anticipation. Ryan was already seated at the defendant's table with his lawyer. He wore a charcoal gray suit, minimal styling, clean-shaven, the look of a man trying desperately to appear reasonable, responsible, mature. His mother sat directly behind him, lips tightly pressed, eyes sharp and glaring at me, as if she could cut through skin with her stare alone. When Lily and I walked in, Ryan looked up. Not remorseful, not ashamed. Just furious, like he was the one who'd been wronged. The bailiff called everyone to rise. The judge entered, same silver-streaked woman from the preliminary hearing, still wearing the expression of someone who had long run out of patience for nonsense. We all took our seats. Daniel leaned towards me. "She's a good draw," he whispered. "No tolerance for dramatics." Good, because Ryan thrived on dramatics. Opening statements began. Daniel went first. He walked the jury through our story calmly, factually, without embellishment. He presented the scholarship letter, the text message telling Ryan not to touch the garage, the acceptance email, the rejection from the art school, the timeline. He ended with, "Lily worked 8 months for that portfolio. 8 months of irreplaceable labor. What was destroyed was not simply art. It was opportunity, a future, a chance she had earned through talent and discipline." The defendant did not simply make a mistake. After the mistake, he refused to apologize, refused to help, and attempted to intimidate and harass this family. That is why we are here. Then Ryan's lawyer stood. He put on his best soothing, wounded tone. "This case," he said, "is not about property. It is about a bitter breakup and a lawsuit weaponized out of spite. Mr. Dawson made an honest mistake while cleaning. He had no malicious intent. These damages are exaggerated, speculative, and driven by revenge, not justice." He spread his hands dramatically. "We will show that this lawsuit is not proportional to what happened, and that my client is being punished for a simple misunderstanding." Then came the testimonies. I went first. Sitting in the witness chair, staring at 12 strangers, I felt exposed in a way I'd never felt before. Daniel guided me through my account. How long Lily had worked on the portfolio, how I texted Ryan explicitly to leave the garage alone, how he'd dismissed our concerns. I described the scholarship's significance, the rejection, the harassment that followed. When Daniel finished, I felt steady. Then Ryan's lawyer approached. He smiled like a man trying to charm a snake. "Ms. Mercer," he said, "is it true that you told my client he wasn't allowed in the garage at all?" "No," I said calmly. "I told him not to touch Lily's art supplies. He could go in the garage. He just couldn't move or throw away things." "But isn't it true," he said, pacing a little, "that you controlled what he could clean? That you dictated which parts of the home he had access to?" "The garage was not a shared living space," I said. "It was my daughter's art studio, like someone's office or their personal belongings. It required respect." "But you never told him the specific dollar value of the portfolio," he pressed. "Correct? I didn't think I had to tell a grown man not to throw away things labeled college portfolio. Do not move." He frowned, but said nothing further. Then Lily testified. My heart lodged somewhere in my throat as she walked to the stand, small, trembling, but determined. Daniel guided her through the story, each piece she'd created, what the school meant to her, how she felt when she realized it was gone. Lily's voice shook at first, but by the time she reached the part where Ryan told her to just draw new pictures, her voice steadied. She said, "It wasn't about the money. It was about something I worked for every single day, something I loved, and he treated it like trash." The courtroom was dead silent. When Ryan's lawyer stood to cross-examine, he softened his tone. "Lily," he said gently, "you never told my client directly that the portfolio was tied to a $50,000 scholarship, correct?" She looked at him with tired clarity. "It was labeled," she said. "The garage had my artwork everywhere. Everyone knew I was applying to art schools. I didn't think I needed to tell someone not to throw away my belongings without asking." He tried one more angle. "Didn't your mother also have access to this space? Couldn't she have—" "No," she interrupted firmly. "My mom never touched my studio. Ever." Then she stepped down. I wanted to hug her right there, but I waited. Next came Ms. Rayburn, the art teacher. She spoke confidently, breaking down each piece of Lily's portfolio as if teaching a class. Art at this level requires planning, she said. Drafting, revision, medium layering, drying time. It cannot be recreated in 3 weeks at the same quality. Ryan's lawyer attempted to dismiss her testimony. But she is talented, he insisted. She could simply create new art. Ms. Rayburn turned to him, eyebrows raised. She can make art, she said. She cannot replicate 8 months of expert-level work. That's why scholarships exist, to reward the work already done. His argument deflated instantly. Then came Ryan. He walked to the stand like a wounded martyr. His lawyer asked softball questions. Did you mean any harm? No. Were you trying to help? Yes. Would you ever intentionally hurt Lily? Never. Do you feel terrible about what happened? Yes, deeply. His voice cracked in the right places. His shoulders slumped perfectly. It was Oscar level. But then Daniel stepped forward, and the performance unraveled. You received a text message, Daniel said, 6 weeks before this incident, telling you not to touch items in the garage, correct? I don't really remember that specific text, Ryan said. Daniel projected the message on the screen. His response. Fine, I won't touch your precious art room. The jury's eyes shifted. Does that refresh your memory? Daniel asked. I guess, Ryan muttered. You saw a portfolio case labeled College Portfolio. Do not move, and thought it was trash? It looked old, he said. Worn out. I was cleaning fast. Too fast to read a label, Daniel said, but not too fast to carry it to the curb. Ryan shifted, irritated. I was in cleaning mode. I wasn't thinking. That, Daniel said, is the problem. He stepped closer. After you discovered it was important, what did you do to help? Ryan blinked. What did you mean? Did you apologize? Daniel asked. Offer to help? Attempt to recover it? Offer any restitution? Ryan swallowed. No, the trash had already been picked up. That's not what I asked, Daniel said, voice soft but sharp. What did you do to help fix what you destroyed? Ryan stared down at his hands. I told them it wasn't my fault. Daniel projected another text. God, you guys are so dramatic. Just draw new pictures. Daniel looked at the jury. No further questions. The rest of the trial blurred together. Ryan's mother crying on the stand, trying to frame him as a good boy, his friends attempting weak character defenses, Daniel tearing apart every inconsistency with quiet precision. By the time closing arguments began, even the retired art teacher on the jury was leaning forward, elbows on her knees. When the jury went to deliberate, Lily and I sat in the hallway holding hands. 40 minutes passed, then an hour, then 2. 4.5 hours later, the bailiff called us back. The jury filed in. No one looked at Ryan. That felt like a sign. The foreman handed the verdict sheet to the judge. She scanned it, then looked up. Liable, she said, for destruction of property and emotional distress. She read the damages, $38,000, plus legal fees. Total judgment, $47,200. Lily exhaled a tiny, disbelieving breath. Ryan went white. His mother made a strangled noise and stood up. This is robbery, she shouted. The judge banged her gavel. Ma'am, sit down, or you will be removed. Ryan whispered hoarsely to his lawyer. I don't have $12,000. The judge didn't blink. That, she said, is between you and your attorney. You've been found liable. It was done, but the consequences were only beginning. Outside the courthouse, the air felt strangely thin, like the world had shifted 3 inches to the left and hadn't quite settled. People spilled out the front doors in clusters, talking in hushed tones. Some glanced at me, some at Ryan, most at the door where his mother tried to storm out before security gently intercepted her. Lily stood beside me, clutching her sketchbook to her chest, fingers trembling not with fear, but with the kind of adrenaline that leaves you washed out afterward. Daniel stepped between us and the chaos like a shield. You both did incredibly well, he said. This was a clean win. The jury understood the impact. In the distance, Ryan was pacing in tight, frantic circles, his mother grabbing his arm, his lawyer whispering urgently. His face looked like a mirror that had just fractured, still mostly whole but showing every crack. He saw us, stopped, and for one beat, the world froze. He didn't shout, didn't approach, didn't throw accusations. He just stared, like he was waiting for me to crumble, to regret it, to run over and say I didn't really mean it. I didn't move. Daniel placed a hand on my shoulder. Let's go. We walked to the car, and for the first time in months, I felt something close to steady. Not whole, not healed, but steady. As I started the engine, Lily exhaled, a sound that was half relief, half something heavier. Is it really over? She whispered. I glanced at her. The trial is, But the healing, that takes time. She nodded, staring out the window as the courthouse disappeared behind us. The first payment was due within 45 days. $12,000 up front, then $1,500 a month until the remaining balance was paid. I didn't expect the money to actually show up. People like Ryan didn't accept consequences. They avoided them, twisted them, blamed someone else for them. I figured his parents would try to block it, or his lawyer would file a delay, or he'd attempt some last-minute stunt. But 43 days later, my phone buzzed while I was chopping vegetables in the kitchen. Deposit? 12,000 tome. I stopped mid-slice, set the knife down, just stared. Lily looked up from her seat at the counter. Mom, what happened? I turned the phone so she could see. Her mouth fell open. Wait, really? He? His parents, I said quietly, had to be. Lily blinked once, twice, then set her pencil down. What are we going to do with it? She asked softly. I thought about the trial, the scholarship she'd lost, the nights she'd cried into her pillow when she thought I couldn't hear, the way she'd deleted every social app to escape the comments, the way she'd stopped wearing bright colors for a while, like she needed to shrink into grayscale. We're starting a college fund, I said. It won't cover everything, but it'll help. A tear slipped down her cheek, silent and unselfconscious. Mom, thank you. I stepped around the counter and wrapped her in my arms. I told you, I'll fight for you every time. But reality wasn't kind enough to wrap everything up neatly with a bow. Lily started her freshman year at State University that fall. It was a good school, a solid art program, supportive professors, but it wasn't her dream school. There was a quiet shadow in her that hadn't been there before. She still drew, but less explosively, less freely, like her creativity had been bruised and needed time to trust again. Her first week on campus, I visited the art building with her. Student pieces lined the halls. Portraits, collages, abstract sculptures. She paused at one particularly intricate piece and whispered, I could have competed with this. You still can, I said gently. You're rebuilding. She nodded, but her eyes flickered with that same hollow ache. Loss doesn't vanish just because you win in court. She started seeing a counselor through the school's wellness center. She joined the campus art club. Slowly, she began taking risks with her art again. New mediums, new textures, new ideas. One evening while I was making dinner, she came into the kitchen holding a charcoal drawing of a cracked vase with light pouring out of the fractures. It's not for a portfolio or anything, she said shyly. I just wanted to make something that felt like me again. I swallowed hard. It's beautiful, I said, and it was. Ryan sent one more email through his lawyer. A single sentence. Hope you're happy. You've destroyed my life. I didn't reply. Because somewhere between him throwing away that portfolio and shouting at my daughter in a school parking lot, he had handed his life's steering wheel to denial. Consequence wasn't something done to him. It was something he'd invited in, over and over, every time he chose arrogance over accountability. People like him believe remorse is a bargaining chip, not a responsibility. And he learned finally that remorse offered too late is just another manipulation. The restraining order remained in effect. 6 months of silence. 6 months of distance. 6 months where no messages, no posts, no sudden appearances pierced our peace. When it expired, Daniel asked, Do you want to extend it? I thought about it for a long moment. No, I said, he knows better now. People don't always change because you ask them to. Sometimes they change because they hit the ground hard enough to feel the impact. Lily finished her first semester with solid grades. She joined a student exhibit at the end of the year, submitting 3 pieces, none perfect, all deeply hers. After the show, she said quietly, I think maybe next year I'll try rebuilding my portfolio, not for transfer, just for me. I kissed her forehead. Whenever you're ready. Her smile was small but real. One night, months later, we were sitting on the back porch drinking tea. Lily sketched the sunset, and I watched her work, her hand moving with that old, familiar confidence. Mom, she said, eyes on the paper, do you ever regret it? The lawsuit? I shook my head. No, I said, not once. Even though it was messy and exhausting and... She hesitated. And people said awful things? I looked at her, this brave, resilient, talented young woman who'd had a piece of her future ripped away and still kept moving. Actions have consequences, I said softly, and the world doesn't hand those out fairly. But I wasn't going to let someone walk all over you because I was afraid of making noise. She nodded slowly. I didn't get my dream school, she said. No, I admitted, you didn't. She paused, pencil hovering over paper. But I still have my dream, she whispered. That's different. My chest tightened, not with sadness, but pride. You do, I said, and it's still yours. The money didn't fix everything. Winning didn't erase the loss. Consequences never perfectly rebalance what was taken. But Lily learned something unshakable, that her work mattered, that her boundaries mattered, and that when someone harms her, she is not expected to quietly accept it. And I learned something too. Love isn't just comfort. Sometimes it's teeth. Sometimes it's a courtroom. Sometimes it's standing so firmly that someone else finally falls over their own recklessness. In the end, justice wasn't perfect.